Spotlight Band. Three nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Spotlight Bands travels to Army camps, naval bases, and industrial plants all over the country.
The kids learned to amuse themselves. They didn't have money to go to the movies, and they didn't have books and things. And like I say, that was before radio and television and all that sort of thing. And this was just one of the ways they did all the things that the grown-ups around them did. You know, monkey see, monkey do.
How do you do, everyone? Columbia takes pleasure in presenting for your pleasure Benny Goodman and his orchestra.
No one really today can put together, in a sense, realize how much it meant in the history of art in terms of American culture. If it wasn't for the WPA, I don't think American art would have gotten such a rise after it ended after the World War II. Because it gave the artists a chance to develop their creativity, whereas they would not have been able to do it because there were no jobs and there was nothing going on except poverty. And the WPA took care of that and gave them something stable to work. And I think that helped American art develop much faster and become more international than any other period. The interesting thing about the WPA prints is they dealt with what was going on. For instance, much of my work of that time was the working people who were working tunnels in the Central Park, or they were in Hooverville knocking down the houses trying to construct a new vision of the East Side. Some of my work was about strikes, people striking and trying to organize unions and so forth. So they cover a wide variety of events that took place at that time. It was a tremendous experience to see the poverty and the degradation taking place in the 30s. No jobs, no nothing. So if it wasn't for the WPA, I cannot imagine what would happen to this country. It would be impossible that it could survive as a democracy. I was born in the Gilded Age, and either very poor or very rich, which is a little bit like it is today. And what happened historically is that the development of the middle class into the 60s, 70s, created a body of collectors of prints in which I, for the first time, could profit from. If it wasn't for the WPA, that God knows what would have happened to the country.
And it was a lot of fun to be with so many different theater professionals who were there because they didn't have any work too. And the essence of the work itself, the educational aspect, I found was very rewarding. We did everything from Shakespeare and Aeschylus and Sophocles to the most contemporary writers, the young writers who were just making their way in the theater. And there was tremendous enthusiasm. Audience response was terrific. They'd rise up out of their seats at the end of a first act and cheer and yell. There was great enthusiasm because up to that point, although theater by today's standards was very cheap, let me say that the cheapest seat on Broadway was 55 cents in the second balcony, and then $1.10 in the mezzanine, and $2.20 in the orchestra. So although that sounds appallingly cheap by today's standards, that was real money then. Because I should have had what my salary was in that job. All of us, except for the non-WPA professionals they used, it was $23.86 a week. Now you think that's the price of a modest luncheon today? I think it was of enormous value to show that the government had a need and a right to step in when people were in very serious economic trouble and help them. I don't think the country could have relied on private enterprise at the time to do that. Obviously, it didn't. The percentage of unemployment was way up high. I stayed on the Federal Theater for 3.5 years. I always hoped I could get a job paying more, but it just didn't happen. I stayed on it until 1939, in the middle of 1939, from 1936. And at that point, I would have continued, except because there was no other job at the moment. And at that point, the Congress stepped in and killed the theater project, because they felt the plays we were doing were too inflammatory at times, rousing public opinion. And so Congress, chiefly Southerners, the Democrats, stepped in and killed it. That was just a budget-cutting thing mixed with a political motive of trying to hush us up.
Ich verkünde die Spiele von Berlin zur Feier der 11. Olympiade neuer Zeitrechnung als eröffnet.
That was Herr Hitler announcing it open. Now they're all cheering him, and the whole crowd have raised their right arms.
And if you're successful and you try hard enough, you're bound to come out on top, just like these boys have come to the top now. There's been so many lovely things said about me, and I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to thank everybody. Thank you.
I'd ever been abroad. I'd only been gone from America for 2 days, a little less. And I wasn't in any hurry to get back. I found that it didn't make much difference whether I wanted to stay over there or not, and I was informed that while it wasn't in order to come back home, that there'd be a battleship waiting for me next week.